Hey there, guys, and welcome to another exciting episode of Tales from the Podcast. I am your host, JB, here with my lovely co-host, Jack. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good, man. I am tired, but I'm excited to talk about this movie today. So, yeah.
Oh, yes. And we actually got a pretty special guest, a guest that we've been chatting with quite a bit. And for those who have been keeping up to date on the show, he's actually one of the co-hosts on Three Guys, One Crypt. So let me go ahead and introduce our other co-host joining us for this episode, Chuck Nasty. He's one of the hosts he is the host for Nasty Nation and one of the hosts for Nasty Nation Graveyard Talk. And he's also in the band Bastard Sons of a Judas Goat. That's quite a fucking bit of shit, dude. How's it going?
It's going all right, man. Yeah, I try to stay busy or I start going crazy.
Right. I completely understand that. I'm surprised you have time to be on Tales from the Podcast this week, considering what you got 3 other podcasts that you're doing as well as a band.
Yeah. I have to really plan everything accordingly. Like if I have heads up that I can usually, like if I got the kids here, I can have them chill out and I can, just get everything ready and stuff. And usually I'm good. I'm pretty flexible for the most part, even though I don't have much time, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I can imagine you actually having to schedule in like shit breaks in between everything that you do.
Yes.
I have to say one thing that's quite amazing that I found yesterday at Walmart. If you could see my shirt, they have the new shirts for Halloween, the first film, the night
that's cool.
Came home for $8, man. I saw it on Facebook from a friend, and I was like, I gotta go to Walmart. Just like today, I gotta go to Dollar Tree because I called them, and their truck comes in, so I gotta go get my dollar Blu-rays today. And
nice.
DVDs. Yes,
you call it the Dollar Tree.
Dude, I fucking love the Dollar Tree, man. Like that is
It's just a weird fucking thing to say, man. It's like, yes, I called the Dollar Tree, and I know they get their truck in today. It's like you're fucking stalking the Dollar Tree.
Well, dude, when you okay, so like I got asked recently by a special someone if I was a frugal person when it comes to buying things, and I was like, "What's your definition of frugal?" And they said, going the cheap route, and I'm like.
You don't even have to think about that. You called the Dollar Tree.
Yeah. but what's cool, though, is that, I support the Dollar Tree, and I love the fact that they have dollar Blu-rays. And the movies they get are fucking amazing. They're not like the cheap-ass shit. Like, they got, like, Spider-Man and shit, and good
They
horror.
got some good ones.
Yeah, they do. And which is really funny because one of my friends' film was actually there. It's called The Immortal Wars, and when I first messaged him, I said, "Hey, man, your movie's here," and I didn't realize, but in a way, it kind of it's kind of like he doesn't understand why his movie is in Dollar Tree. It's because it was just on Walmart shelves literally a year ago, or 2 years ago, and so for it to be there is pretty insane. But yeah, so I got to go get my DVD fix after we get off of here. But yeah, the Walmart has these shirts for $8. They're I finally got a Chucky one, Chuck, not the one you have, because somehow they keep selling out. I don't know how they do that over here where I am, but I got a Free Hugs one. So
I want that one. Yeah.
Huh?
I said I want that one.
Oh yeah, you just gotta find it, man. Like, that's what the horror community is about. When you see stuff like that, you gotta post it and let people know. On another note too, last night I got roasted by the great Brian O'Halloran of Clerks fame, Clerks 1, 2, and all the Kevin Smith films. He roasted me on Into the Night with David Madison last night because I got on and Chuck, where'd you go, man?
Oh, we lost Chuck. He dropped his phone, it looked like. So it's okay. They'll keep talking. Let us know what happened.
But yeah, so I get on the show to wish David a happy birthday. and like all day, and like I've been recording, new music, getting vocals and stuff done. So I have my vocal volume, my mic volume super low, because I don't want to distort it through the system. And I get on there and it's super low, and he's like, he just goes off on me. How the fuck, you come on a podcast and it sounds like you're a fucking mile away. And it was great. Brian O'Halloran, you rock. And to be roasted by one of the greatest, comic, cult comic legends from Clerks, that's a great feeling. And, it was great. I enjoyed it. It was fun. And, so on to the show. Justin.
Well, before we talk about this show,
okay,
we got Chuck Nasty on. So, Chuck, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the podcast work that you do and a little bit about your band?
Yeah.
All right. Nasty Nation is affiliation with Romero Pictures Indie Brigade. It's a podcast that I started doing a long time ago, and I talk about music, movies, that kind of thing. I haven't been doing too much with it that much here lately because I'm trying to get some other stuff taken care of with it. But I've also been putting a lot of energy into Nasty Nation's Graveyard Talk. It's me and my buddy Whitman, and right now it's just like Nasty Nation's. It's audio, but here before too long it's going to be going video whenever we get the right things that we need in order. And we talk about we have lists of horror movies, different horror subjects, comic books, TV shows, actors, directors, that kind of crap. And my band is a 2-piece atmospheric sludge doom band. And we've been in the process of, we played a show, a cancer benefit this past Saturday in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, and it went awesome. And now we are in the talks of getting things figured out so we can do our first score for Scott Lake's Killing Time. And then we've got like 3 EPs and a bunch of stuff that we're recording for the next few months. And if you want to find us, you can find us on Bandcamp and Spotify and all those other places. Just look us up and hit us up on Facebook.
That's awesome, man. And of course, for everybody out there listening in podcast form, all those links will be added to the show notes, like always, too.
My question is, are you guys signed? Chuck, are you signed?
No.
How
would you?
So you say 2-piece band too? Like, is that kind of like you guys like the White Stripes?
Well, I mean, it's, I guess format wise, guitar player, drummer. I play drums and do vocals. In a live situation, that's what we usually do. We also we released a few albums that are where I play a little guitar, a little bass, do some vocals, as well as do some atmospheric noise, pedal stuff, horror movie sounds, basically that kind of shit. Any 2-piece band, if somebody's like, oh, I'm in a 2-piece band, then I usually am pretty intrigued and want to check it out. So, but I do like the White Stripes. I don't know if Josh does, but I like the White Stripes.
How do you guys perform live, if you don't mind me asking? Like, do you have other friends that come in and play the rest of the music, or is it
backing
just
track?
Yeah, or backing. How do you guys do it?
Josh uses a baritone guitar. That is, it's a specially made guitar for him. It's called they're from a company called Monson. Bands like Yob and Neurosis and stuff like that have used it. Basically, this guy that makes these guitars never makes the same one twice, ever.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so basically, he plays the bass along with playing the guitar, and we just have two stacks on stage with this, so it sounds like there's more than just one. And I beat the shit out of drums and scream at people.
Fair enough.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. We should have it off. What's the word I'm looking for? We should have it off. God, see, now I gotta wake up. Guys, help me wake up. Come on, someone. Get in the comments. Talk to us. Wake me up here. We should have an off-air topic.
Jack's needing attention at this moment.
Yes, I need so much attention right now. I need someone to come fluff me. I need someone to come rub me all over. You know, I know.
You might end up getting the wrong people doing those things.
Shut up. You know what? At this point,
or the right people, depending on who you are.
Right.
Exactly. Like if you're Jack.
Yeah, right. It all depends on who. But no, we should have an off-air conversation about possibly signing you to a little indie deal, because I can offer you that.
Okay, we'll talk about that sometime. I'm cool with that. Yeah, I'm intrigued.
You are intrigued. Well, physical releases of all your albums, so stuff like that we can do. Anyways, all right.
All on cassettes only.
Hey, we actually put out cassettes. We like putting out cassettes.
Oh, fuck. If you can do it, do it. Cassettes is I mean, I know we're totally off topic here, but think about like how things are made. Like when back in the day when they were distributing, cassette tapes. Imagine how long it took to make one cassette tape back then.
The first time I ever did any kind of audio recording, because I play music too, is like back when I had an actual 8-track recorder for cassette. So like, me too. I fully fucking know how the process works and what kind of bullshit can be involved with it. That's for sure. But you're right though. We are way off topic, and we're actually today we actually are going to be talking about a film that I believe all three of us actually really, really enjoyed, and that is 1982's Creepshow.
Yes,
so,
yes.
I'm sure this right here fits right in with everything that comes along with Tales from the Podcast. You're talking a horror anthology, and sure, it might not be completely based off of a comic book, but there are certain aspects that are based off of some of Stephen King's short stories, and it was adapted into a graphic novel like right around the time that the film did come out. So there is still that kind of association there. So of course you will be getting a comparison still.
But it wasn't Creepshow a comic book just like Tales from the Crypt? Wasn't it one of those like when they were probably like rivaling each other, right?
No. First off, you're talking about a 25-year difference almost. Well, 30-year difference. Oh, dude. Tales from the Crypt came out between 1950 and 1955.
Well, I know that. What I'm talking about is I thought that these were comic books back in the day that would rival each other, just like Marvel versus DC. I thought Creepshow versus Tales from the Crypt.
Well, the Creepshow graphic novel came out after the movie. It's like a novelty kind of thing.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
The whole idea of Stephen King even said that him and George Romero had talked about like the old horror comics, and they wanted to make a movie that was kind of homaging that whole thing.
And it's really funny to think though, because Tales from the Crypt was actually like Stephen King was in between 3 and 8 years old for like the entire span that Tales from the Crypt came out, the comic book.
Oh wow.
So just for the fact that he was even influenced at all is kind of amazing to begin with. But you can really see that they were clearly influenced by it.
Yeah. And and then maybe I don't know the whole history of it, but maybe like Tales from the Crypt, like the show, probably they got their start or inspiration maybe from Creepshow, from what it did in the movie. It seems like they would, and they just brought to TV instead of a movie.
I really don't think that's the case, because a lot of the people that were behind the TV show were huge fans of the actual comic books back in the day, and then the Amicus films from the 70s too, which still came out before Creepshow. So Tales from the Crypt was still a thing and still had properties being moved around at the time. It just wasn't as big as it is, I guess, kind of nowadays. It's kind of one of those weird things where Tales from the Crypt's actually probably bigger now than it ever was when it actually came out.
Oh, Truth. Yeah. The cult following. It was the one show that I'm sure we all snuck out to watch, or would watch behind the oh frick see, I saw, I'm saying frick instead of fuck behind the couch when our parents were watching when they didn't know we were there.
Right.
It was probably, yeah. So I mean, it's great.
And Creepshow was like kind of like the version of it that we were allowed to watch because it wasn't nearly as bad.
Yeah, but I mean, the content of Creepshow is literally still creepy, but it had that comedy aspect to it, to where it was more comedy than horror, and it was just like, I'd say Creepshow is more fantasy horror and not actual like, well, it's I would say comedy. It'd be fantasy comedy horror. With
I don't see the fantasy at all.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I don't really see the fantasy too much either. Like personally, I think like what the most fantasy you got in here is the crate with the monster.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But
like but other than that, like everything else seems just strictly horror to me.
Yeah, because when I think of fantasy, I think of like fairies and wizards and dragons and shit. And parallel universes.
The crate with the monster is about as close as I can get.
Well, I mean, the fantasy in that, I mean, him wanting to kill Billy.
Fuck you guys. That's all. Okay, that's it. Fuck you. Whatever.
Oh, whatever, Jack.
God, you're a mess today, Jack.
But I'm rocking the shirt. That's what I love about this.
I like that shirt. I'm gonna have to go get that shirt.
Do you guys know the hidden thing in this poster? Does anyone know what the hit? Like, bring it up, Justin.
I am. Hold on, buddy.
All right, wait, remove the banner.
I like the banner. The banner's fucking sexy.
Okay. Does anyone see or know about the hidden picture within the picture?
I do, but I can't remember what it is.
Why don't you just go ahead and tell us?
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you, it's kind of grainy, so.
Okay, well, right. Well, here in the hand, it is a guy being suffocated. If you look at it, that's the hidden picture within a picture. Now, we don't know if it was originally intended to be like that, but it's one of those things, that horror fans know about. It's one of those hidden things. But anyways, so
I knew there was something, but I didn't know what it was. No, I know.
What was that?
I said I didn't know about that. I knew there was something hidden in it, but I can't remember what it was. But now I know, and no one's half the battle.
Yeah. That's true. So today we are talking about the 1982 Creepshow, and for everyone who can see it right there, it's probably one of my favorite posters that's ever been made. Now, this was directed by George Romero and written by Stephen King. And there is a shitload of actors. And usually with Tales from the Podcast, I know we usually go through and pretty much say every actor and a little bit about what they did. But the reality of it is we could probably turn that into an episode by itself with how many people were in this. It is pretty fucking ridiculous. But, George Romero, Stephen King, like I don't really think I really even have to go too deep into anything that they do. I feel like if you're watching this show at this point, you probably idolize those guys as much as the rest of us here.
Right. And there's a great tie-in for me and Chuck with this film, being a part of the Romero Picture Heavy Metal Indie Brigade. We're part of George C. Romero's legacy and everything that he's done and accomplished. Oh, and I do have to say this too, by the way. I've been, along with being a podcaster, I've been cast in 2 new movies coming out that will be started filming in 2021. One is The House That Eats Flesh, and 2, Jim of the Dead. Oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, check those out on Facebook. The House That Eats Flesh, and also Jim of the Dead, which is gonna be like this throwback to 80s. Like the whole spandex. I'm excited. That's why I got to get even more fit.
So you can wear spandex.
Start recording in a year.
What?
You start recording in a year?
Yeah. Well, no, we record in 2021. Due to the COVID and everything.
Next year.
Next year. Well,
All right.
you know, when you say next year, dude, it's literally like what? Okay, so we're August, September, October, November, like 5 months away. Like, where the fuck did this year go? It's going by so fast, and it's so fucking hectic. It's ridiculous. But
I'm doing okay.
we are, you know what? We are doing our thing, and we're gonna start some Indiegogo campaigns. One's running for Gym of the Dead right now, and then the House That Eats Flesh is gonna be on. We're gonna be starting in November the campaign. So stay tuned for that, guys, and give and support your local filmmakers and
Support
and
Jack. Support Jack. Support Jack. Support Jack.
Right. So we need to have a whole little 10-minute segment at the beginning of the show of what's Jack
Just
up
so he can
to
get
and
it
what's
out.
going on in Jack's life.
you know what? I think that would be a great segment of like
Right. How
you
was
do?
your last bathroom break, Jack?
how's oh shit. Yeah. Oh shit. There you go. It's great. It was great, man.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Creepshow now, since that's what we're here for.
Yes. Yes. Let's do
No,
that.
this is the all about Jack segment right now. What the fuck you talking about? No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, since Jack wants to talk so much, why don't we have Jack talk about the first segment in here? Obviously, we can talk about the prologue and the like the outro part or the epilogue at the end of it. But why don't you talk about the first little segment, Father's Day?
All right. Well, the first story, Father's Day, is an original story by Stephen King, written for the film. Nathan Grantham, the miserly old patriarch of the family, whose fortune was made through bootlegging, fraud, extortion, and murder to hire, is killed on Father's Day by his long-suffering spinster daughter, Bedella. Bedella was already unstable as the result of a lifetime spent putting up with her father's insistent demands and emotional abuse, with which culminated in his orchestrating the murder of her sweetheart, Yarbrough. The sequence begins in 1979 when the remainder of Nathan's descendants, including Nathan's granddaughter Sylvia, his great-grandchildren, blah, 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 get together for their annual dinner on the third Sunday in June. Bedella arrives and stops in a cemetery outside the family house to lay a flower at the gravesite. There, she drunkenly reminisces about how she murdered her overbearing father. She accidentally spills her whiskey bottle in front of the headstone. Nathan's putrefied, maggot-infested corpse emerges from the burial plot in the form of a revenant who has come back to claim the Father's Day cake he never got. Graham slowly avenges himself on Bedella and the rest of his scheming heirs, killing them off one by one before finally attaining his Father's Day cake, topped with Sylvia's severed head. While the ending is left ambiguous in the film, with Nathan gloating over a terrified Cass and Richard in freeze frame, the comic book based on the film gives a vague hint that Nathan's next act was to blow out their candles.
Lord.
Yes. As spoken directly from Wikipedia.
Exactly from Wikipedia. And yeah, so I mean, you want me to talk about it, it's the best way to do it, but this was one of those where it kind of set the mood and tone for the film. There really wasn't that much comedy in that to me, but it was just one of those things like, these are rich son of a bitches, kind of like the way I see it was like You're Next, like the film You're Next, just this rich family that kills off their dad to get his money and is tired of putting up with his bullshit, but in the end, he has his revenge.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty fair, and I can't say that I wouldn't do anything different though. Like their father was a fucking douchebag. He was a fucking horrible person in this episode or in this segment, if you will, and it was just really really shitty. And well, with this being Father's Day, we can just go ahead and say that I did notice that Ed Harris was in this, and I believe he's the one who's in the new Westworld, right?
Oh, that's a good one.
Like oh my god, like the dancing with him was just I don't know. Like, it's one of those
Oh,
things, right? I've seen this movie a bunch of times, but after watching like some other movies and other shows, you become, bigger fans of other actors. So, like Ed Harris is one of those where it's like he's slowly grown on me with time. So now, like looking back at this and realizing, oh shit, that's him, and then seeing the fucking dancing, and it's kind of fucking ridiculous, especially considering like some of the characters and everything that he's doing nowadays.
That's actually
okay.
Father's Day was it's probably one of my favorite ones. I mean, I like all the stories in the film, but there's something about it. Just the way he's like, screaming for his cake and shit. It's like there's a lot of memorable things in just this one. I mean, like Jack went through the whole fucking thing. You've got the snobby kids, and they're all standing around, and they're just waiting for the aunt to show up, and the dancing around shit like you were talking about, and them drinking, and just kind of being like how you would figure snobs in the 70s would be, and the whole thing with Bedelia being the way she is. She's a great character, not just because like I feel like I might have been related to her, but like one of it's got probably one of my favorite death scenes because it just seems horrible. And you're talking about Ed Harris when he gets crushed. For some reason that scene where he's trying to move, but every time he moves, it's just like, everything about that is creepy as shit. That whole story is it's probably one of the creepier ones in the film, I think.
Right. And
my cake, Bedelia.
And speaking of, this is what the cake was.
Yes.
Looks tasty, right?
Straight up, man. I mean, that talk about giving head for a new meeting. It's
yeah, pretty fucking insane. I love how it's pretty much just a bunch of frosting, and he's clearly gonna rot out all of his fucking teeth with that cake. It's horrible. And you guys pretty much mentioned everything about this one. Me personally, I think this one was a pretty fun one. It did set the mood for everything, kind of like what you were saying. It like the dancing. That was just one of those things with me. It's like I'm only going to remember this because of the dancing now. Like that's the only thing that's going to pop in my head every time I think about this segment.
And the sad thing is about the dancing is that was real.
I know you showed me your videos every other week, Jack. Like he does it all the time. For those who don't know, Jack has started up a new YouTube channel where all he does is erotic 70s dancing, and it is horrible.
It pays the bills. It pays the bills, bro.
He has the frayed off short shorts, the jean cut off ones, and he just dances around like Ed Harris.
The shirt half cut, it's hey, you know what? It's my OnlyFans account, okay? So
OnlyFans account.
If you want it, there you go. You'll get the links.
So since we already went ahead and discussed Father's Day, why don't we go ahead and talk about the next little segment in here, the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill.
Would you go ahead.
Chuck, do you want to go ahead and talk about this one?
Sure. This one actually, like, because you go from Father's Day being the most serious, I think, out of the whole thing, out of all the stories, and then you have it shows you the comic aspect of it with Stephen King, of course, playing Jordy, this backwoods hillbilly redneck guy who ends up being interrupted one night by a giant meteor crashing into his yard. He goes out to take a look at it, and he touches it. It breaks open. He gets the stuff on his fingers, and his first, he has this thought in his head of, well, maybe I can go make some money off this thing, because why wouldn't I? Then he starts thinking about the doctor, like, either giving him money or either like, I don't know, it backfiring on him somehow, because he ends up starting to grow like a plant. Plants just starts growing all over the place. He gets it all over him, and by the end of it, he's a complete mess. He's having images of his father talking to him. He ends up chugging a bottle of vodka, and then he chugs another bottle of vodka when he's a full-on hairy, or not hairy, but plant, walking plant, and ends up blowing off his own head. It's such a funny one because of the way he acts throughout the whole thing. Stephen King I think he's not a great actor, but he's really good at it. And most of the time he's really good at the comic aspect of whatever he's in his movies or whatever. This one I always liked. I would like to get a tattoo of Jordy Verrill actually sitting there with a bottle of vodka and the shotgun to his face, or his big mound of bud, or whatever the hell it is.
I think your tattoo, if you get one, should incorporate the cross-eyes.
Do what? Oh yeah. But one of my favorite things, though, one of my favorite lines, though, is meteor shit.
Meteor shit. Yes. Oh, and by the way, a little tidbit and trivia for you. This was, Creepshow was Stephen King's screenwriting debut.
Yeah. I do believe that I read somewhere that this one, even though it was adapted into the comic book graphic novel afterwards and everything, it was supposed to be based off of one of his other short stories, Weeds.
Yeah. Let's see. I can. Yeah, it was based. It wasn't supposed to be. It was based on his short story Weeds.
Right. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure. It's been a while since I did a little bit of research on this one. I kind of ran short on time doing my research this week, but I was pretty sure it was.
And what's funny too is like it's kind of a reminder of the times. Like he was so excited like to get a bank loan for $200. Like that was really funny. Like $200, like that's all you wanted. Like, wow, all right.
Especially considering like the average cost of a meteor, I think you can get in between like $2 and $20 a gram. Like you're like, and that's a piece of stone, like or stone, minerals, metals, whatever the fuck it is. Like that weighs a lot, so like it's fucking insane.
Well, he also, it's a very terrifying like tale. I mean, even though it is the funniest, like it starts off with like the humor. It starts showing, okay, this is going to go a different direction. But like, think about it. If you were in his situation, like, he tries to take a bath to get this stuff off of him. All it does is just make it worse. Because remember, he passes out, wakes back up, and he's like even more like, plant life. And it's like, what do you do? Like, it's like, I think that the end of the story where he has to like just off himself, and that seems like it's the only way out. As fucked up as that is, like it's the only way out.
I don't know. I feel like if he would not have killed himself and we would have just seen it go the other way, it could have eventually just turned right into the Swamp Thing, and we could have had a whole nother series.
Right.
Yeah.
I think maybe Joe Dirt, that plot of Joe Dirt maybe was inspired by this because it kind of has the same aspects of it, so that I think
you just want to see Joe Dirt turn into Monster.
Hey,
that fucking thing.
Let's not.
All you want. Don't lie. I know what you're thinking about.
No.
Dookie.
So why don't we go ahead and talk about
Dookie?
Yeah, right. So let's go ahead and talk about this next segment, which was something that tied you over. Now, this one right here was had Leslie Nelson in it, which is fucking awesome. Ted Danson, Galen Ross, and Richard Gere in it. He was the man on the TV. But this one is I'll be honest with you guys, probably one of my least favorite segments in it.
What?
I know. I'm probably not the one who should be talking about it, but guess what? I am. And it doesn't mean I didn't like it or anything, because I think all of these are actually really, really good. So for it to be the least favorite, it's not saying anything bad. Almost every one of these segments is, except for maybe this one, is better than every segment in Creepshow 2. And they're all better than anything in Creepshow 3. So, it is saying something. Being my least favorite on here isn't really bad, is all I'm saying. But this one is you got Leslie Nelson's character, who is pretty much blackmailing this man into going and pretty much burying himself and everything, and getting himself not able to move so he can free his girlfriend, which is his wife and his property, if you will. And I guess his whole plan revolves around recording both of them as he has them kneel in the sand and bury them up to their neck, which I actually had my wife watch this with me, and she's extremely claustrophobic and things like this, and especially Motel Hell really freaked her out.
Yeah.
And so it was quite the experience on screen watching it, as well as watching next to me what was going on. But yeah, so we get these characters and pretty much buried to their neck in sand, and they're put at a point where while the tide is out, it is eventually going to cover them once nightfall starts, and throughout the night, you see the tide coming up and drowning them, and then we get the next day and we get Leslie Nielsen's character. He goes out and he goes and finds them, and well, they're not there. In fact, I'm not sure. Maybe one of you guys can tell me, but it looked like the cord from the TV. Yeah, I don't think he said anything in it, but I know in the comic book, they go out of their way to make sure that it looks like it's chewed off. So I don't remember that in the actual film adaptation, though. I don't know if you guys remember that or not.
I think it was.
It was cut.
Well, I know that they go make sure they talk about it being chewed up.
Yeah. He looks at it and then goes and just like, he doesn't think anything of it. Maybe like a crab got it or whatever.
Right. And he goes right back home pretty much.
Yeah. Like nothing ever happened. And then they show up. And
they show up with the worst fucking, like, this is the only thing that threw me out of it is like the bubbling water sounds while they were talking. Like that's what threw me out of it.
See, the thing was that I like that, the simple fact that like it's because they wanted to keep it somewhat like comic, and I feel like if it was a comic, that. I like that. I thought it was kind of cool to have them having instead of just the usual like they're a little more, little something extra to it, But I see what you're saying though, but
right. I just thought it was like for the effect that they used for it. I think it could have been done better, even for the time. I'm not saying it's like necessarily bad, but I think it was executed a little poorly with the bubbles and the sounds on it, like. Because you could hear the bubbles and the sounds of the bubbles and stuff like in between their words as well, which it doesn't like. I don't know. It wasn't for me, that part of it. The other effects though, I absolutely love, like when he was shooting at him and everything, and the green pus coming out. I absolutely love that. It looked fucking amazing.
Yeah. I do agree, and I know you said like it was probably your least favorite, but dude, you gotta look at the horror aspect of it, of reality. If someone buried you up to your neck in sand on a beach waiting for the tide to come in, do you know how fucking torture that is? That's scary as fuck, and there's nothing you can do. There is
while watching the love of your life like drown as well.
I understand that, but to me, there are other stories here that I think are a little bit scarier. Is all I'm getting at, and I think the other stories are better.
Yeah, I could see that. Like
I said, I'm not saying this is a bad one. This is my least favorite. You got 5 great stories here. At the end of this, we're all gonna fucking rate them. So I want to hear what your least favorites are too. Then once we get there, so let me break you guys down.
little trivia though. The love interest in the movie is played by I can't remember her name, but the woman that's in the original Dawn of the Dead as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the blonde. Yeah.
Huh.
Let's see. That
would be Galen Ross.
Galen Ross, plays Becky Vickers.
Huh. Interesting. I didn't realize that was the same person. So since we went ahead and talked about that one, why don't we talk about our next little segment? And Jack, do you want to talk about The Crate?
Absolutely. I love The Crate. The Crate is pretty much like back in I'm trying to find a date. I guess, around the same time, 1979, 1984, around there. And this college professor has the most annoying wife that you could possibly think of, like the stereotypical drunk rich wife that nothing you do is ever good enough. And played by Adrienne Barbeau. And this is where she has her name Billy. Oh, and by the way, Billy is her nickname. It's not her her real name in the short is called Wilma Northup.
Yeah.
So
Billy
was
is such a shitty name.
Yeah, come on, like shut the fuck up, Billy. Stop drinking. But
is Billy even a again, I like Richard, Dick, you get those things. Like, do any of you guys know a Wilma? And they're like, hey, just call me Billy.
I know Wilma.
I don't know.
Does she prefer to be called Billy for no fucking reason at all?
No, not at all, actually.
No. What
Yeah.
the fuck?
It's weird. I don't know.
That doesn't.
Anyways, all right. So back on to the short.
I didn't like that.
What he does is he finds out that the janitor at his college finds his crate underneath a staircase, which somewhat does not make sense because apparently this crate has been there since the college opened, or someone stuffed it in there. They never really fully reveal that, so it's kind of like one of those plot holes. And they
say the year is like on it and the box is chained up. So you would assume
Arctic Expedition, June 19th, 1834, and it was hidden under a staircase. So they bring it in his big lab, and they open this shit because that's just what people do when they find old shit. They just want to open it up, and they release this monster, and he sets up his wife that he wants to get rid of, and makes her go.
Well, that's a different person that sets up his wife.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
You didn't realize that there was a different person who found the crate?
I was just going to let him finish. I was just going to let him finish.
No, I forgot. Okay, yeah. I have it right here in front of me, but I didn't want to read it because I didn't want to get, fucking
called out.
But yeah, so his best friend figures out a way to get rid of his wife, his friend's wife, because he sees the pain and what she's doing to him, and leaves a note for her
He gets drugged. He drugs him, and he drugs him. His partner had no idea. So after the janitor dies, we have him kind of run out and everything, and he's all frantic, and another professor's there too. So he gets that other professor down there, and he's kind of like talking like, oh yeah, if you talk about this, they might think you're crazy, blah blah blah. And then they go to look and everything, and they start to see what's going on, and they see the shoe, and they want to compare the size of the bite, and then that's where we get the monster in the crate eating the other professor. And then we get that little small jump there where we go, and that's when he's going over to his friend's house, and they usually play chess together, and what is it? He ends up drugging his friend. He passes out and then writes this elaborate note to try to get Billy to go to the school with him so he can actually set her up there. And obviously it's all planned out. And the timing is fucking amazing considering that, I don't know if you noticed it, but he finishes cleaning just as she got there. So it was like, that would never fucking happen.
Especially all that blood. Like, I mean, wouldn't you smell the iron in the metal? Just
not
after it's that watered down.
Don't forget the note. It was pretty much to make it seem like the doctor that he drugged had got himself in trouble with a young, college student or whatever, and all this shit, and just to get her there, and she's like, oh, because Wilma, whatever, is a vindictive bitch, so she's gonna go see what the hell's going on. He knows this, and if you want to go on from there, I could.
So she shows up, and he pretty much says, go look, and then literally pushes her ass in there. The fucking monster grabs her, eats her. And I'm trying to,
he makes an ass out of himself at first. because he's like, oh, Wilma, and it doesn't, and then all of a sudden it pops up because you think it's not going to happen, and then it does.
Yeah, and then
just tell him to call you Billy.
Yes, and Billy. Here I'll read what happens after that. Like, the beast does indeed maul and eat her. Northup secures the beast back inside its crate, then drops it into a nearby lake where it sinks to the bottom. He returns to assure Stanley that the creature is no more. However, it is subsequently revealed to the audience that the beast has escaped from its crate. So it's kind of like one of those cliffhangers, like, oh no, it's still out there. And then ends.
Right.
Well, it doesn't really escape. It just wakes up.
Yeah. Is it like, I don't know. I kind of get confused on it too, because like most things that I know that are, related to the primate family, which obviously this monster definitely looked like it was. Usually when you put them in a box, chain it up, and throw it into water, and it's underwater for a while, it drowns. So I would be curious to see if they could make something else after this and see what happens. Maybe this is the first like sea monkey. Like now it's a sea monster.
Yeah,
it's
really like what's underneath the black stuff in the raft.
Yeah. And you know what? Unfortunately, we don't see this creature again in any of the sequels. So
which is really sad considering how cool it looked.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the best effects in the whole movie. Maybe not part 2, but like in Creepshow 1, it was the best effects there, I think, in my opinion.
I gotta say this story in particular inspired me a lot when I was younger. Me and one of my buddies used to during like we were in elementary school. While everybody else was playing tag and swinging and doing the slides and stuff, me and him would buy the school's notebooks and stuff, and we'd sit over there and write our own stories. And we actually were kind of thinking of like we would draw up our own little covers and shit. And I wanted to write the sequel of that, and I was like, I guess 4th grade, something like that, 3rd, 4th grade. And I remember like drawing like the cover for it. What would it be? And it was just a picture of like the crate being busted open and like water in the background. So like it like washed up on shore and the creature gets out. I can't remember what the rest of the premise was I had for it, but I remember apparently the box, it sunk, but it got hooked on something else and it drug it all the way to shore. It busts out and wreaks havoc. Yeah, but that one always stuck with me. It'll always be a favorite. And also with the main guy, that's Billy's husband. God, great actor. Hal Holbrook. He does an excellent job in this short, man. Like the acting's great throughout it, but he's one of my favorites in the whole movie actually. But yeah, just a little something there.
I agree. I thought he was an amazing actor. I thought he played that awkwardness very, very well too. And I feel like we've all had like similar fantasies like the way he did. Like I feel like he was one of the more real characters there in this entire film.
Yeah. Well, the scene where like the beginning of it where they're at the party and she's just being a drunken bitch and he has the fantasy. There's that fantasy part. That's the only thing I'm going to add on this about your fantasy idea you had earlier, Jack, was that, he's like, hey, Billy or Wilma or whatever. And he shoots her and everybody's like, and it's just like, I don't know. It's hilarious. And he's just like, and he puts the gun up like Dirty Harry or some shit.
Perfect. My favorite's the one guy who's doing the golf clap.
They're all shaking their head.
Right. It's the sign of approval. Like nobody liked that bitch, obviously. So I guess we went ahead. We talked about the the crate. So Chuck, do you want to chat about our last segment that we got here? It's titled "They're Creeping Up on You."
Yeah. All right. So this one, I love this one because it makes my skin crawl. Old crotchety old man. He's a rich asshole, and lives in this. It's almost kind of like a futuristic kind of place, where he is a clean freak and he doesn't. There's not to be any bugs or anything. His walls are all white. He has a jukebox and only a couple of things in his apartment, and he keeps pestering the I guess like the janitor or whatever, who is a complete smartass to him the whole time. Oh, anything for you, Mr. Pratt. And finally he starts noticing these cockroaches. And so, of course, he's bugging the guy again, and he's doing this and saying that. He gets a death threat because it shows how big of an asshole he is at the beginning also, because the wife of whatever, her husband killed himself. And then at some points, he's trying to kill all these cockroaches he's seeing until the point where he can't. And then he's at one of the most disgusting scenes and claustrophobic scenes, and also just is where he is in his little room and it's just filled up with cockroaches. It's disgusting on so many levels, but it's got some funny elements.
Uneasy feeling ever in this entire film was that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I mean, the
ground.
I get the idea. Everything about that one is it's honestly one of my favorites. But the funny thing is, here's a funny thing about that.
It really happened to you. No.
Similar, but I won't get into that right now. Right. No, well, actually, when I first saw Creepshow, I actually had recorded it off TV. And for some weird reason, for many, many years, I didn't realize that was even one of the segments. Why? Because it wasn't on the TV. They had cut it off for editing. They shortened it down. And so for years, I kept watching the Creepshow that I had taped and everything. And then finally one day, when DVDs became a thing, and I bought it, and I was like, oh shit. Yeah, no, like I was like, are you kidding me? And it fucked with me for years because I was like, I had no idea. I feel like an idiot. But yeah.
You know, I got the Blu-ray and I don't remember that on the movie because I literally just had to watch something on YouTube while you guys are talking about it. And I'm like, I don't remember that. It's not on there. Even on I did not remember this short because I started reading it like on Wikipedia and I'm like, I don't remember this short. So
I
apparently
remember this one.
I guess apparently on the Blu-ray, maybe I don't know. I don't think I fell asleep before that, but I don't remember this in the film, and that's really cool to know. That's the original. Maybe I have the Blu-ray copy where it's like the original released film without the extra, or maybe it's on the DVD extra, Blu-ray extra. I don't know, but
I don't know. I remember this one even from when I was a kid, dude. Like this one's always been one that really fucked with me.
I don't know, but cockroaches, and from what I've seen, it's probably one of the very first films that show, that show OCD, in its at its finest, because the guy's cleaning everything, washing his hands, and literally spraying disinfectant over everything. So I think it has that original feel to it of showing.
Hey guys, I'll be right back. I have to answer a phone call real quick, so I'll be right back.
Fine,
okay,
buddy. You're fine.
Sorry,
you're good. So the original, it shows you OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, uncleanliness, that I don't think people really understood at the time, and that time in the 80s. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, I can see that, and I don't think they really showed it too much. Like I know what you're saying, but like in other films and everything, I can't imagine it being the first time in the 80s. But you might be right on that, dude. I think you're really onto something. Like I don't know, like
yeah.
To me, it was just one of the more fucked up ones, just because of how realistic this episode, like this segment was. Like this seems like something that could really happen, and I don't know what it is about fucking cockroaches that creep me the fuck out, but this one was probably the most real for me.
I think it's one of those eerie feelings. Like me, like here, I live in Louisiana, and when it rains and when it pours down, the creepy crawlers come up and they get everywhere. And I remember a time when it was or in my lifetime where once you see a roach, it's one of those feelings of like, all right, I see one, I know there's more, and I don't know where they are. And I think that's the creepy reality of it. Unless you get like an exterminator in here, or you get, the pellets or whatever to, kill them off before they get everywhere. Because it's literally, you see one, there's a family somewhere in your house and you don't know where it is. So I think that's the reality creepiness of it.
Right. Yeah, you're definitely right. And we actually got Chuck coming back in here. So, Chuck, did you have anything that you wanted to add to the segment again before we go to our commercial break real quick?
Yeah. First off, sorry about that a second ago. Shit happens when you're a parent. I think that that like I said, that segment is probably one of the most skin crawling. Like I honestly, when it comes to bug movies, next to Arachnophobia, which I watched again last night for like the 50th time. It's one of those that I like because it makes me feel a certain way I don't want to feel. You know what I mean?
Right. I completely get that.
Oh, by the way, I was looking up the OCD thing, the comment I made. If you remember the original Odd Couple with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmons, the character Felix Unger in 1968 had OCD.
No, I do not remember that film from 1968. Do you, Chuck or Jack?
I do remember actually. The Odd Couple was actually I liked that movie and I was a fan of the.
I don't remember. I don't think I've ever seen the original Odd Couple. But then again,
it's a good one. It's a good one. Then the show is good too.
Yeah.
Oh, and apparently in the original 1956 Moby Dick, Captain Ahab had OCD as well. Oh, hell, you know what? Joan Crawford, Mommy Dearest, how do we not fucking know this? She had OCD 1981 in Mommy Dearest. No wire hangers, always clean, remember? So
I think everyone should have wire hangers, just in case.
Yeah. That is a very disturbing movie.
So with that being said, let's go ahead, jump to a commercial break. We'll be back in 5 minutes, guys.
Hello, this is the Sasquatch, aka Bigfoot, but you can just call me Frank. And when I'm not stomping around the woods throwing rocks at hunters, I like to listen to the Paranormal Punchers podcast. That's right, Paranormal Punchers. They talk about all things paranormal, and they're hilarious. Go find them on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and ParanormalPunchers.com.
Do you like the Tales from the Crypt? Do you love the Tales from the Crypt? Even if you've never seen an episode, this podcast is for you. I'm Melissa, your ghostess with the mostest, and host of the Good Evening Kitties podcast. Each week, I break down another great episode from the TV series The Tales from the Crypt. Audio clips are included, so even if you haven't watched that episode, you're good to go. There are also special guests, trivia, mini movie reviews, and much more. What are you waiting for? Check out the Good Evening Kitties podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's the Good Evening Kitties podcast. Check it out today.
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. A whole new season of spine-tingling tales.
For the first time in We're Not Afraid of the Dark history, we're actually going to watch a erotic scene
together. Just a couple brothers watching porn together. Don't worry about it.
On air right now. This is the biggest plot hole I saw this, by the way. How in the fuck does she take him back in time?
But he was made it a point to bump him. But no, I agree.
How do you not catch this?
I was drunk when I watched this.
Whoa, So were we. Yeah.
But yeah, there's just this giant fucking board right here ready to lock down.
Like it has hooks that you latch the fucking door to lock it.
She is on Mr. Skate Up, I'll link in the show there. She does get that. And she's listed as great nudity. She's a red-haired girl. They say she has great national tits.
See?
You seen her black people in this episode?
I like how she's exercising while eating it. And then she's in the bathroom taking a shit, reading the story, and the plates on the floor.
Man, this is also the first episode where our main characters aren't just a bunch of generic white kids.
Everything about our food is changing. The way we cook it, the way we eat it, and the way we share it. And that's why I'm encouraging you to come and check out Pardon My Fork. Conveniently packaged in hour-long episodes and available anywhere you find your favorite podcasts and at pardonmyfork.com. We are talking to home cooks, chefs, Food Network stars, and world food champions. So cleanse your palate and come and get a heaping helping of Pardon My Fork.
Greetings! We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, the bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
He's right. We wax philosophic about lots of geeky crap like old video games and movies, toys, cartoons. I don't know, help me out here.
Music, pants, quoting video games that don't have dialogues, shabibans, tasty news,
Unnecessarily long Japanese onomatopoeia.
butt breathers, uncomfortable nature facts.
or how to install a thermoflange.
And unlike all those other podcasts, we at Retro Reductopus have an exciting rotating host schedule.
Do we? We sure do.
So, if you didn't like the guy flapping his gums this week,
Like me.
worry not, gentle listener. Next week we'll have a whole new host.
Of problems.
Hey, they might still suck, but they'll suck differently.
And you know what's really cool? Retro Reductopus is part of the Dorkening and Inebriar podcast networks, with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
Which is like every other Tuesday. We named it.
Anyways, you can listen to us at iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, or any podcast player cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all things that made growing up awesome.
Win championship belts. If you're not listening to Trick or Treat Radio, here's a taste of what you've been missing.
There's 3 guarantees in life. What are they?
Death, taxes, and Trick or Treat Radio every Friday morning.
This is one of the most convoluted movies I've ever seen in my life.
I'm fucking trying, man.
Hi.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
It's like you took a shit on a pile of shit.
But you shit on him for liking what he likes.
Yeah, well, it's my job.
This podcast is now banned in Germany.
It's me, Giovanni Lombardo Radici.
Shut up. I call bullshit. I demand someone to bring me the face of Lindsay Lohan.
If I had genitals, I would definitely bang her.
Oh, wait. Was she a great big fan person?
You just hit the jackpot.
This is a weird movie, huh?
It had action, it had suspense, it had great characters, it had great acting.
I'm gonna strangle you with my jockey shorts.
I don't like mobster movies.
All right, well, here's my take. You're a sick fuck.
Thank you. Now shut the fuck up and let me talk.
Have you ever seen 2001?
The box, right? The box and the monkey.
Available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and trickortreatradio.com.
Arrivederci, douchebags.
Hey there, and welcome back to Tales from the Podcast. I am sorry, but my other co-host, Jackie Poo, has kind of been taking his time with a smoke break. So, Chuck, man, what did you think about this, man? Did you have a lot of fun watching this one?
Oh, always, man. It's a favorite. I mean, shit. Like, I'll just go ahead and because this it's one that you can see my poster on the wall there. Creepshow. It's one of my favorites of all time. I'm a big fan of anthology films, and this one, in my opinion, is kind of the king. So, yeah, no. When you said you all were doing this one, I had no problem being on it. Thanks for having me on.
So you would say this is like your favorite one, your favorite anthology?
It's one of my. I think it's one of the best ones. I think it is king. I like anthologies. Some are good, some are bad, some are just fun, some are watchable. But this one, everything about it, I mean, minus a couple little things, everything about Creepshow, the original, is, 2 thumbs up.
So you would put like something like this even above the Amicus releases of like Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror? Or have you seen both of those films by chance?
I haven't. Okay, Vault of Horror, I haven't seen. I saw the original Tales from the Crypt.
All right.
They are good.
Man, that's a good one.
Yeah, I need to watch it. But yeah, I mean, those. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen Vault. I don't think the Tales from the Crypt one. I've always really enjoyed. I need to go back and rewatch it. It's been years since I've seen it. But Creepshow, everything about it to me is like what I want, and also the fact that it has the comic book element to it. That they made it like the old Vault of Horror and Tales from the Crypt and all that shit. Because it definitely looks like a comic book throughout the whole thing. The way they cut to different screens and they did the comic book screens, the animated stuff, like all of it's just great. And the fact that Stephen King's son, who's Joe Hill, the author, is the little boy in the beginning and the all that shit.
Okay, so really fucked up thing. I gotta admit it, just because I find it so fucking hilarious, and it's completely my bad. And like, it was one of those things I realized I was wrong after like 5 seconds. But like for a second there, when I was reading everything, I saw his name and that he played Billy. So I was for a minute there, I'm like, was he used to be a girl? Like, I was like, oh fuck, wait a minute, that's a kid. What the hell?
It's still early. It's still early.
Well, you know, like, well, especially like when you're reading credits and you're not looking at pictures and you just see the name Billy there. Like my head instantly went to the Wilma Billy. So because I can't hear that name so much, it just stuck in my head so bad. But yeah, that's I don't know where my head went. But what did you think about this one, Jack?
What?
So what did you think about this one?
Me, more.
Yes, you diva.
Oh dear God, no. I think I really enjoyed it. I think with anthologies, obviously, I love anthologies. I really think it was, one of the first that probably set the tone and mood that people or the groundwork, the formula that people and filmmakers took, and they used it as their own for future anthologies. I think it was executed very well for the time, and it spawned 2 sequels. A sequel that is atrocious, but I think the second film, part 2 of Creepshow, was if not better than the original. It's really one of those series of anthologies that it kept getting better, but unfortunately it suffered the third film fall off curse with anthologies. But that's because we're not going to talk about that on this show. That's going to be on our next show, 3 Guys, 1 Crypt. But it definitely suffered the curse of first 2 were amazing, and then the third one just drops off the fucking cliff and head dives.
The second one was amazing.
I liked the second one. I thought the second one was pretty good. Honestly, no,
it was middle of the road for me for horror anthologies. Middle of the road for me.
Well, I think it had,
the first one's amazing. Like the second one had I think half the segments. I think 2 of the segments are good.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree, but we're talking about the first one, and I love the first one. I think that it was a very good, attempt and start of anthologies. Because I really don't know of any other anthologies before that I can think of right now off the top of my head that did what Creepshow did. It set the tone, and it was a good formula. And you talked about Joe Hill, who actually no one really knew who Joe Hill was until this year when he created his Netflix series Lock and Key, which is an amazing series, by the way, if you haven't checked out on Netflix. And
I wouldn't say that nobody knew who he was. I mean, he's been putting out books for a while, and he's gotten a pretty good name for himself.
Right, but people didn't know, like, he was literally.
He's become more known, but yeah,
he has his fame definitely shot through the roof this year, and he's more acknowledgeable and as a writer because he wanted to branch off from his father. He didn't want anything to do, he wanted to be associated as himself, which goes along with someone we also know, Chuck, which is great. But yeah, I love Creepshow. I get what?
You guys don't have to talk to me where it's a secret. Like,
well, I don't know. I'm not doing it.
I'm trying very hard not to be like my dad. We already know those guys.
Yes,
I do it all on my own.
But anyways, no. On a level, a scale of 1 to 10 for Creepshow, it's a solid. I think 8.5. It'd be a solid 8.5 for me, in that aspect because it was a good film, and it has its flaws. It's there's no perfect film that I can think of. Other than
have you ever seen Manborg?
Other than Titanic.
No, watch Astron 6's Manborg, and you're gonna be like, hands down, best film ever made. Fuck it, I'm done.
Is it better than Space Truckers?
Dude, Manborg is fucking amazing, dude. It's like partial live action, partial stop motion. They overdub foreigners for no reason, even though they speak English. And it's just like, it's complete nonsense. But it's Astron 6, so it's good. It's worth checking out if you're a fan of them.
Okay, I will definitely have to give that a watch. But yeah, 8.5, solid for me for that.
Right. I am gonna have to agree with pretty much everybody here. I really like this film as a whole. I'm gonna have to give it like an 8. It was a fun film. There's a lot going on for it. Every segment was pretty good. There was one that I'm not too big on, but I've already talked about that a little bit. The effects in this were done very well considering the time and everything. We got
Wasn't
things
it
like
Tom Savini?
Yes, Savini. Well, and when you got somebody like him, you got amazing work like this right here. So here's the couple that had like the awful bubbly sounds. We got the monster from the crate. We got your boy Stephen King there growing his first beard. I'm pretty sure that's the only time I've ever seen him with anything on his face.
Really? He used to have a big old giant beard.
Yeah. Well, not for years. Obviously you got Leslie Nielsen and so like just the work in this was amazing, especially like the practical effects. It did have I guess with Tom Savini doing it, you have pretty much every practical effect artist pretty much copying his work for probably for the rest of the time film's going to be made, to be honest with you. So you can really see a lot of the similarities with like the almost like a zombie like designs and stuff that they use with this right here, even with Tales from the Crypt. And even like it's kind of similar to what they were doing with the Vault of Horror and the old 1972 Tales of Crypt 2 with the zombie look. So I really did like that. But it was all around a fun movie, and I really did enjoy it. But let's go ahead and talk about something very important. Let's go ahead and figure out which segments were our favorites. So we got 5 segments here, guys. What?
Wait, real quick.
Yeah,
trivia.
Jackie,
Yes, Jackie Boo here. Real quick. This film in its first weekend grossed $5,870,889. And it replaced Rambo First Blood in the top spot. It had a 5-day total of $8 million. And it grossed over $21 million in the United States and Canada, making it the highest grossing horror film for Warner Brothers that year.
Now, how much did it gross worldwide? Because I feel like I was reading something on it and that its worldwide gross was like the same. Like there was no difference.
Well, it just says United States and Canada. So I'm assuming that's,
I just wonder if there was ever an international release. Like I don't know anything about it. I don't have another version of it. So like I do have another Blu-ray player where I can watch it, but I don't have any way to I don't know if there is or not. But, so anyways, let's go ahead and talk about these segments a little bit. Why don't you go and rate them 1 through 5, 1 being the best. And I guess you probably should start at 5, build the anticipation. So Chuck, what would you say is your least favorite? And keep it going.
My least favorite. Damn.
It's a bitch when I word it like that, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess my least favorite would be the Leslie Nielsen one. The Tied You Over, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right.
That was probably my least favorite. And I really like that. I would say that's probably my least favorite.
Yeah. So Jack, what would you say is your number 5?
My number 5, my least favorite
of these 5 segments.
God, that's I'd probably say They're Creeping on You.
Really?
Because
Oh, I'm gonna have to say obviously something to tide you over. See, and you guys are giving me so much shit too, Chuck. when I said it.
I was actually thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know which one. You know, actually, I changed my answer. I'm going with what Jack said because I do like something that ties you over a lot better than that one. But I do like that one too. So I'm gonna go with the cockroach one.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
So all right, well let's keep it going then. Chuck, what was your number 4?
Number 4. Oh, something to tide you over. We'll go with that.
Fair. Jack, how about you?
My 4th one. This is hard. Father's Day.
Demon Hunter's used to that. What'd you say?
Father's Day.
Father's Day, fair. I'm gonna actually have to 100% agree with you there with Father's Day too. It's just the next in line. It's not like they were bad or anything, but you know we want to break these down, go in order. So, Chuck, what about your number 3, buddy? What do you got there?
As much as I love this one, I will have to put it at number 3. Is Father's Day.
Fair, Jack. What about you?
Number 3. I gotta see the ones okay. Something that tied you over.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
For my number 3, I'm gonna have to go with the Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. It was just right in the middle there for me. No, let's keep going. What about our number 2s? Chuck, why don't you go and lead that?
Mine is the Jordy Verrill. That's
Jordy Verrill.
Yeah.
What about you, Jack?
This number 2, right? Number 2,
so number 2s. Number 2s.
Yeah, number 2. Thank you for the noise.
Your favorite.
It's not a doo-doo. It's a number 2. I'm gonna say, God, this is hard because the last 2 I really do like. I'm gonna say The Crate.
The Crate?
Yeah.
I'm gonna also have to go with The Crate on this one. It was still fucking great, but really close one. But fortunately for me, I've actually went through and did my ranking, so I don't have to think about it and make it look as hard as Jack does. So, Chuck, what about you? What about your number 1? What was your favorite one out of this entire film?
The Crate.
The Crate?
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Jack?
Well, obviously, I like Stephen King. So The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill.
Really? Huh. That's an interesting one to be your favorite. With me, I'm going to have to go with They're Creeping Up on You. I just found it to be the fucking creepiest one of them all. Getting devoured by fucking cockroaches is definitely creepier than anything else I think that happened in there.
That was a lot tougher too. That was a lot tougher to list those like that than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
because I like them. I love them all. I love them all, but it's just like, okay, well, which ones had more appeal to certain things and made me feel a certain way? So yeah, but yeah.
So you see, what I was saying earlier, kind of like had a little point behind it and everything. It is really hard to take 5 things that you absolutely love and rank them out from the best to the worst. And even though the worst one is the worst in the list, it doesn't mean it's bad by any means.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because they're all good horror shorts, and when they're in a film filled with so many talented people and actors, like Leslie Nelson, like that whole character of him, you think he's a good guy when he comes off across in the beginning, and then
I was hoping he was going to go all Naked Gun on it.
No, but did we ever find out why he did what he did? Did we know? I don't remember it being.
I think it's pretty much implied that they were having an affair behind his back, they were lovers.
Yeah.
They state that a few times, but they don't really go into any real details behind it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much a good reason. I'm not justifying it, but at the same point, you're an old rich guy that is a chauvinist asshole or whatever, and you look at your wife as property, and then she runs off to somebody who actually treats her like a present, like a prize, without being like, and so he got pissed off because he realized he wasn't the best, and then unfortunately for them, he had to do what he felt like he had to do. Kind of like O.J. Simpson. We won't get into that.
Kind of like O.J. Yes, there are a lot of similarity between there. I can see it. Like O.J.
Wow.
There's barely any fucking comparison at all. So,
well, Chuck, explain your. No, I'm playing. No, that was great. That was great.
With that being said, we pretty much discussed the film. We talked about some of the things that we liked, that we didn't like, and we even ranked our favorite segments down for everybody. So before we go ahead and wrap things up, Chuck, why don't you go ahead and tell all the listeners a little bit more about you, the shows that you do, a little bit, in detail, a little tiny bit, like what your show's about, and then where people can find you. And of course, these things will be found on the show notes when we air this on the podcast too. But tell all the listeners live now so they can get a head start on everybody.
All right, so talked a little about it earlier, but Nasty Nation, which is affiliated with Romero Pictures Indie Brigade, you can find they're audio episodes. I don't know how that's going to work soon. So like I said earlier, there's some changes going on, but with Nasty Nation, I usually it's just me. I occasionally have interviews with different musicians, and I talk about pretty much whatever's on my mind most of the time. And sometimes it's really deep. Sometimes it's just goofy. Sometimes it's just informative. And I do the show, the Graveyard Talk, with my buddy Whitman, which Nasty Nation's Graveyard Talk. And we talk about different horror movies and different genres, different things within different horrors, different comics, movies, TV shows, and all that stuff. And we spend about an hour talking about that kind of stuff. And where we're still doing audio, I'll play a few tracks here and there from different bands that I like on both shows. But of course, like I said earlier, I think I said it earlier, we're going to be going video before too long. We've got some other ideas, some other things that we're going to be doing to up it when we go video. We've got a buddy of ours who we're just calling the Bartender. And we like to occasionally go out to weird places like cemeteries. We have one in particular that we always start on our adventure nights on. And we go to this old cemetery. I'm not going to say the name of it, but not that it really matters, but still just in case. And hang around there a little bit. And occasionally we'll have some drinks. And our buddy, the Bartender, is going to have his own little segments and show us his little drinks that he's made for us. And yeah, so there's that. And of course you can find that stuff on our Facebook pages, The Nasty Nation and Graveyard Talk, as well as the Indie Brigade, where you'll see the Nasty Nation logo come up with everybody else's logo, which Graveyard Talk doesn't have one yet, but it's being worked on. And you can listen to that stuff on Spotify, Anchor, Pocket Cast, all the major ones that you can think of, pretty much. My band, Bastard Sons of a Judas Goat, you can find our stuff on Bandcamp. We've got 4 or 5 albums on there. That's more along the lines of our noise ambient stuff, really creepy, atmospheric kind of things to listen to whenever you're feeling a certain way. And our Facebook page, Bastard Sons of a Judas Goat. We have merch. If you're interested in any of our merch, we have pictures on our Facebook. The best thing to do is just shoot us a message on Facebook, and if you like anything, then we'll get it out there to you. But yeah, that's about it, I think.
So that's fucking awesome.
I will say this real quick. Whitman, my buddy that I do Graveyard Talk with, he's a photographer, and he's got I think it's called Whitman's Gallery or Whitman's Photos or something like that on Facebook also. So go check that out as well.
Right, and that is not a collection of just Chuck Nasty nudes, right?
No, it's actually it's a bunch of good looking girls. So he does all kinds of different kinds of photos and shit. He's actually doing some photos for my band for some albums. Yeah.
That's really, really cool, man. It seems like you're really busy. And, I also noticed that you forgot to mention another show that you're on, Dick.
Oh, yeah. My bad. Well, it's still new. It's still new. But yeah, I'm on Three Guys, One Crypt. I keep wanting to say One Cup. And I just, anytime I tell anybody that I've told anybody about being on that show, they always kind of chuckle because they're like, okay. Like, because they get the name. So,
yeah, that's the point. Yeah. That's the point. You know what I mean? It's funny in there, and it brings back a lot of really, really good memories from Jack from his Navy days.
Oh.
But I love Jack,
of course.
So, dude, I want to go ahead and I'm sure Jack agrees with me, so I will speak for him. But dude, thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you again for being part of Three Guys One Crypt with us. And for everybody who doesn't know, you can check us out every other week in between Tales from the Podcast episodes, and check out Chuck Nasty with us as we discuss some fun and some not so fun movies.
Yes.
Oh, real quick before I forget, can I also make it known that on Wednesday at 8:00, my time, 8:00, I'm going to be on Any Last Words with Joe on
Very
there
cool.
to discuss everything that is my life.
Wow.
Or whatever.
Well,
So,
feel
yeah.
free to share that in the podcast group page.
Do what?
Feel free to share that.
Oh.
Go ahead, Jack.
No, I was like set up by yours truly for the Any Last Words.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. Yeah, thank you on that one. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. So with that being said, thank you again, Jack. And thank you again, Chuck. Fuck that shit up bad. So, Jack, with that being said, man, the crypt
is closed.